This video is brought to you by Opera GX. Other web browsers hog resources from your computer worse than Kirby does with food. With Opera GX, you can enhance performance on your PC when gaming with your browser open to get rid of lag. Seriously, just click on this little icon and you can mess with the CPU and RAM limiter. And when compared to other browsers, the difference is pretty obvious. As a 90s kid, I'm a sucker for the retro throwback aesthetic, and Opera GX allows you to customize your browser with retro wallpapers, custom sounds, and even background music. Open the GX store and check out the GX Boy mod they got going on, where you can feel like you're back in the good old days. And if you want to customize your immersion, then click this little guy right here where you can enable and disable mods like background music, sounds, themes, you name it. Just listen. It's like I'm really there. Want to stay up to date on all the gaming news and awesome deals on games? The GX Corner has got you covered for all that. It's just like a gaming magazine in your browser. The best deals, the newest releases, and breaking gaming news all in one easily accessible place. You can also switch between platforms and also see the upcoming games in the release calendar. And hey, we've all made mistakes. If you have bookmarks, emails, or other settings saved on other browsers, simply click Settings, Synchronization, Import Bookmarks and Settings, and click Import. Man, look how fast that was. Faster than Sonic the Hedgehog even. So if you're ready to upgrade your browsing experience, then click that link down below to install Opera GX today. Your PC will love you forever, I promise. Cartoon Network. Cartoons. The first real TV network made for kids. Launching in 1992, Cartoon Network has created so many classics and beloved shows throughout the years, and it's still going strong to this day. It's almost an essential part of everyone's childhood. Whether you were born in the 90s and grew up with shows like the Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, or grew up in the 2000s with Ben 10, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Billy and Mandy, or you grew up in the 2010s with Gumball, Adventure Time, Regular Show. The point I'm trying to make is that when it came to cartoons, nobody took as many risks or created as many classics as Cartoon Network. It was always a battle for my love and attention when it came to choosing either Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. So, while Cartoon Network had the advantage, in my opinion, in the cartoon department, there is one thing that Nickelodeon, as well as Disney Channel, were finding massive success in.
It might be coming from the alternator.
Live-action sitcoms. Drake and Josh, Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, Zoe 101, Hannah Montana, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, That's So Raven, the list goes on. These shows were so popular with kids, even turning some of the actors into massive A-list celebrities and musicians. So, okay, fine. Cartoon Network doesn't have live-action shows. It's not something I ever really thought about because, again, it's called Cartoon Network. Well, in 2009, the network would see its biggest change, probably ever. In 2009, Stuart Snyder, some big dumb idiot, would become CEO of Cartoon Network and made the decision for a programming block simply dubbed CN Reel.
And this represents CN Reel on Wednesday nights.
As the name implies, this would be a whole block full of brand new live action shows on the network. How could this go wrong? Well, we're gonna find out together. Destroy, Build, Destroy, hosted by Andrew WK. Andrew WK is a pretty awesome guy, and I'm not just saying that because he follows me on Twitter. He's a rock star that created a ton of awesome music that just makes you want to party. Songs like Party Hard, It's Time to Party, and Party Party Party. And they're all so good. It's time to party, let's party! Andrew WK was pretty much the poster boy for CN Reel. He would do all the promotions, be the frontman in all the commercials. He seemed to have loads of fun. I just wish he was promoting a better product. Along with all of that, he was the host of the show, Destroy, Build, Destroy. The premise is pretty simple. You got two different teams of kids, usually with some gimmick to give them a personality, like the math club, skaters, cheerleaders, football players, etc. These kids were, what's the word? Not interesting, boring, lame.
Sledgehammer because it's so big and heavy.
Yeah, all of that. The teams would need to destroy a vehicle, rebuild it into something wacky, and use it to win a competition of sorts. Destroy, Build, Destroy. They made it pretty easy to remember everything. The big issue I have with this show is that it's just so boring. Like, you have Andrew WK, the king of parties, and a hook where you're blowing things up constantly. How is this boring? Well, mainly because we're following the kids around, and they usually don't have anything interesting to say or do.
Okay, what's this?
That is the platform, because we need it to be
The way
structurally
he said it
in
was,
a-
we already have the square, right?
It's like you're there with them working on a middle school science project, but they're the kids that are really into it and they just take over and do all the work. I mean, those were my favorites when I was in school. Teenagers are shy and awkward. They usually try not to stand out or do something embarrassing because they don't want to be cringe. The network also just isn't going to let kids blow things up and work on heavy machinery on their own. So when it comes to the actual building and destroying, it's these adults that are doing all the heavy lifting. The kids maybe move a table or something, but they're mainly limited to coming up with ideas and playing stupid games. Like, this show is just seemingly trying to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks. They play these games to make little decisions like, what team gets the first pick at materials? What vehicle do you want? And it's just so not engaging.
The gravel dump is costing Math Club valuable time.
These episodes were over 30 minutes long, and again, most of the show wasn't destroying, building, or destroying, but instead...
See it? Flashing it. Oh! That's funny.
Maybe I'm not personally into the show because I was never into building or vehicles when I was a kid. This stuff bored me to tears. I'm curious as to the behind the scenes of the show. Like, there's no way building these machines didn't take a long time. Did one episode take a full 8-hour day of shooting? Were the kids just sitting back waiting for the adults to finish? Once the vehicles were made, the two teams would compete in some stupid challenge where the winning team would win $3,000, oh my goodness, splitting in $1,000 each amongst team members, as well as getting the honors to blow up the opposing team's vehicle. And it's underwhelming. An explosion doesn't really translate that well on a TV screen. I'm sure the kids there were, no pun intended, blown away by it. The methods of blowing up these things though were kinda fun. Like, they let this kid drive an RC car strapped with C4 to the vehicle to blow it up. That's a lot of responsibility. All it takes is one intrusive thought for that kid to throw it in reverse and end the show prematurely. The show went on for 4 seasons with a total of 37 episodes. Honestly, this was probably one of my least favorite of the CN Real shows at the time. And it sucks because Andrew WK is such a fun and charismatic guy. Honestly, Cartoon Network would have had a better chance if they just gave him his own show and let him run wild. As for Destroy, Build, Destroy, let's just say, I'm glad it's destroyed. Ever since I was a little kid, I was always a pretty big fan of trivia. I still am today. I love filling my head with useless information that can sometimes impress someone. Now, trivia is lame. Kids aren't gonna sit down and watch that. So, okay, what if trivia, but on roller coasters? That literally sounds like a fake show that Drake and Josh would watch alongside celebrities underwater. But no! On June 20th, 2009, Cartoon Network would air Brain Rush. The show would follow our hosts sitting next to unsuspecting contestants, where they'd have the chance to actually agree to be on the show. If agreed, the kids would be asked random trivia questions that would need to be answered during the ride.
What does CIA stand for? I don't know.
The questions can range anywhere from, does Tom Brady play football or basketball? Who's the leader of the Fantastic Four? Is Vin Diesel an actor or a product? You know, fairly simple questions that most kids could answer under pressure. But then you get stuff like, how much does the mega mouth shark weigh, and how many time zones are there in the world? Like, dude, I don't even know that stuff. For every question the kids got wrong, they'd earn anywhere from $25 to $50 per correct answer. I remember kind of watching this show when it was on. Again, beggars couldn't be choosers. I didn't love the show, but if Cartoon Network was gonna force these live action things down our throats, at least this was one that was bearable.
Paul Blart is a movie about the Clone Wars.
I don't know!
Brain Rush only had 6 episodes, being pretty dead on arrival. I'm not too sure why, though. I can imagine it was cheap to produce. Just attach a GoPro to these kids' heads, and they were only getting like a couple $100 by the end of the episode. I think they were hoping to get more funny reactions out of the kids. Like in episode 1, they literally give this kid $100 to eat this entire burger before going on the ride. Like, bro, you're actively trying to make this kid sick and puke on camera. It luckily doesn't happen though, because he's 12 and most kids are invincible to that kind of stuff. The show, however, kind of did peak in episode 2. There was this contestant named Trevor who made it through round 1 pretty easily, but round 2 ups the ante and puts the contestants on a lot more of an intense roller coaster, where poor young Trevor made himself absolutely famous by losing his mind on the ride, freaking out and not even caring about the show or the questions anymore, and instead just I think this is what Cartoon Network wanted more of. Funny reactions that could go viral or end up on the George Lopez show or whatever late 2000s talk show was popular.
Are we done? Are we done? Are we done? Is that it? Is that it?
This is the only thing that's always stuck with me when I think of this show. Thank you, Trevor. I hope you're doing well now. Apart from Trevor, everyone else just seemed to have fun on the rides, while casually answering questions. And as a kid, I don't think you want to see other kids having fun on roller coasters. You want that to be you. Critics and viewers all universally panned this show, so I guess Cartoon Network decided to just cut their losses and move on. Rest in peace, Brain Rush. We hardly knew ya. Ugh. The name of this show makes me cringe and feel physical pain every time. Dude, what would happen? Is there anything more embarrassing and clearly written by some old guy who's out of touch with the youth by using the word dude in the title of a show in 2009? It's not the 90s anymore, dude. Dude isn't tubular anymore. The best way to describe this show is that it's Jackass for kids, mixed with a little bit of Mythbusters.
So dude, what would happen if we tried to fly a penguin using 13 helium balloons? Lift off!
We follow our 3 dudes, CJ, Jackson, and Ali. They're all incredibly annoying and over the top. I don't blame them because I'm sure they were told to act extra epic and cool, dude. But when the hosts of the show are completely unlikable and annoying, I have no reason to watch this. Especially since they're not doing anything dangerous like in Jackass. Or at least if that were the case, I could watch these annoying guys get hurt. Oh! The show is once again just a bunch of nothing. They're trying to do a Mythbusters thing where they put an idea to the test. But it feels like the ideas were written by little kids. It's like, dude, what would happen if we turned his car into a hot tub? And then they do it and it's like, wow, yep, that is a car full of water. Isn't that silly?
Hey ladies, how you doing? They want to get in.
Or like, dude, what would happen if we created an automatic pizza delivery machine? Well, you create Breaking Bad. I can't believe Vince Gilligan ripped this off. The biggest problem with the show is that they clearly don't want to be educational, which is totally fine. It explains why the experiments aren't science-based or anything, but they also have restrictions and limitations being on Cartoon Network, meaning they can't do any really crazy stunts or anything that would actually be entertaining. Like, check this out. There's a segment where they talk about zits and how when they pop, they squirt out pus, which is gross. So they're like, dude, what would happen if we filled up a punching bag with whipped cream and popped it like a zit? So 2 of the dudes dress up like football players and run into the bag, where yeah, a little bit of whipped cream shoots out. You see what I mean? That's not crazy or interesting. Now, you could make this bit at least kinda funny if you had one of them wear a bag of whipped cream and then have an NFL player show up and tackle them. You still get the funny visual of the cream exploding and somebody gets hurt. But I get it, Cartoon Network wouldn't want that. But that's the secret sauce to a show like this. All of these stunts are so underwhelming, and the dudes needing to act really hyped and overexcited feels so forced. There's literally an experiment where they're like, what if we drop this massive chunk of concrete filled with orange water on a car? And it's like, just pause. What do you think is gonna happen? Yeah, the car gets crushed. Who could have seen that coming?
Wow, Oh, it totally popped the tires. I knew it would, look.
And then they have a cannonball contest with a real cannonball to see who gets a bigger splash. The real cannonball wins, but like, not even by that much, so it's not interesting. Then they have a meat chopping competition where some guy uses an axe and the dudes use their hands. It's like literal toddlers playing with their food, just making a mess. There's no point to it. It's not funny or interesting. This Kung Fu Master's face says it all. The show's reviews were pretty terrible. Everyone seemed to hate it, but it had really good ratings somehow, as in enough TVs were on the channel during its runtime. Well, yeah, it's all you're running, and people are hoping to maybe catch, I don't know, a cartoon maybe? Cartoon Network then ordered 4 seasons of this, where it eventually just died a very slow and painful death. Dude, what would happen if I took a bath with a toaster? Ghost shows. Ghost shows were everywhere in the 2000s. You had Ghost Hunters, Ghost Nation, Ghost Brothers, that's apparently real, and my personal favorite being Ghost Adventures, starring 2000s hunk Zach Bagans, who never wore a shirt that fit. These were so stupid, and I couldn't get enough of them. My dumbass was so invested in everything. The history, the green camera, the suspense, the energy orbs, did you see that? That's a real ghost! And not dust. So, hey, why not? Cartoon Network then gave a bunch of kids their own ghost hunting show. Go nuts. The Othersiders.
If it wasn't for school, I'd be a full-time ghost hunter.
Yeah, stay in school. We followed 5 goofy, but I'm sure nice kids hunting ghosts. They'd get a haunted location, do some research, and then set up their equipment in hopes to find ghosts. These kids are something else. And I don't think I mean that in a good way.
But I think there's a lot of stuff with the video, so I'm gonna say that it's haunted.
The show was definitely silly, but it wasn't more or less silly than all the other ghost hunting shows that were out there at the time. This is actually on par with them in terms of quality and execution. Like, you know they easily could have thrown in silly music or a bunch of ghost PNGs to add some epic randomness to the moments of downtime, but they didn't. They treated it like a real ghost hunting show and let the tension build up and let the potential spooky moments happen naturally. It's honestly not too bad if you were into the ghost hunting craze like I was back then. Unlike every other CN Real show, The Othersiders reviewed slightly more positively than the others. It wasn't beloved or anything, but compared to all the other live-action shows, this one was at least a bit more positive. I have a feeling it was due more to, again, the ghost hunting craze, because hearing these kids speak triggers my fight or flight.
I like being the tech manager because I'm a techie and I like playing around with all the new gear we get.
The show went on for 4 months, having 2 seasons, with a total of 23 episodes. A nice little time capsule show that, ironically enough, is dead and is probably a ghost haunting the halls of Cartoon Network studios. Oh man, Bobby Says. I'm not too sure how I feel about this show. As a kid, I didn't like it. Now that I'm looking back for this video though, I think I kinda love it, only because of the host, Bobby. He's absolutely hilarious.
God damn it, Ronnie!
What? 'Cause I'm black, you think I did it?
Okay, that's from the movie Role Models, but you see my point. Bobby has a ton of charisma and has a great on-screen presence. I can't, for the life of me, find any footage of this show, and I don't know why. I could find full episodes of everything else, but not Bobby Says. The show followed Bobby going around California and interviewing random people on the streets, probably roasting them. He'd meet up with celebrities for a chat, watch and react to internet videos, just kinda do whatever honestly and see Bobby's fun reactions. The show did not last very long, only having 6 episodes, and since I can't find much footage to use and I'm probably so desperate I'm using PSP commercials with Bobby, I'd say we can move on. Survive This is another show with little to no footage on the internet. It's a pretty simple premise though, that I can't imagine I'd have much to talk about anyway. It's a show where kids are thrown in the wild with Les Stroud and need to survive. Typical survival show.
So that wreckage is now off limits. What you pulled from it is what you have to survive with. And now survival begins.
Now, there are more live-action Cartoon Network shows that we will get to in this video, but these 6 in particular ran under the CN Reel umbrella. CN Reel lasting from 2009 to 2010. Yeah, apart from Destroy, Build, Destroy, and Dude, What Would Happen that would only last a year, these other shows just died before they even had a chance at life, lasting 2 to 3 months maybe. I can't distinctly remember when CN Reel first aired. It was in June, so it was summer break, and I had nothing else to do but watch TV. And for like 4 hours straight, they just aired their stupid live-action shows one after another. It was a constant diarrhea stream that seemingly wouldn't end. CN Reel was made to compete with Nickelodeon and Disney sitcoms. The problem, though, is that they tried to battle sitcoms with garbage reality TV. Drake and Josh versus the Other Siders. Who do you think is gonna win? It was just mediocre and lackluster reactions to whatever situations they were in. Stuart Snyder is clearly a big stupid idiot who didn't even understand why live-action shows on other networks were doing good. CN Reel would die in 2012 due to an overwhelmingly negative reception, which is great. However, while the channel block was technically dead, Cartoon Network still didn't give up on live-action shows here and there. So, let's continue. Yikes, I totally forgot about this show. Out of Jimmy's Head is a sitcom that premiered on Cartoon Network in 2007, making this one of the first live-action shows the network would try. And it's god-awful. Maybe Cartoon Network shouldn't have tried a sitcom.
You're jealous because you don't have a talent.
Oh, and you do?
In 2007, there was a writer's strike across Hollywood, so you could use that as an excuse as to why this show sucks. But no, there's plenty of other reasons. The premise of the show is a weird Roger Rabbit thing, where this human kid sees cartoon characters that he can talk to. I think he got hit on the head by a train when he was younger, so these cartoon characters are his schizo illusions coming to life, including Tom Kenny, who plays a penguin and is literally just doing his SpongeBob voice.
You can do an act with all my can't miss jokes!
I don't know, man, the show's just bad. Everything about it. Everyone's overacting and it's all very poor. The plots aren't that interesting to hold a 30-minute runtime, so we're constantly cutting away for these zany cartoon characters to do something wacky and silly.
You call this lightly toasted?
Wow, are you laughing yet? This show also abuses the life out of the laugh track. I don't think anyone who worked on this show ever did a Dan Schneider-like sitcom, because the laugh track comes up in places that, even if not funny, feels intrusive and like the editors just randomly placed it somewhere.
Whoa, what happened? Check the TV wheel, chump.
The show also doesn't feel like it's filmed like a sitcom, if that makes sense. Sitcoms should feel like glorified stage plays. If you look at Drake and Josh, for example, the camera is usually steady and lingering on a shot. It feels like a play. The characters are all over-emoting, and most importantly, purposefully leave pauses in between punchlines, so the audience can laugh and we can maybe see a character's funny reaction to it. In Out of Jimmy's Head, it 100% feels like they wrote the show without a laugh track in mind. There's tons of panning shots that don't feel natural in a sitcom, and when the characters say something funny, there's no pause for a laugh track or a funny reaction. It's just moving on, sometimes having the laugh track play over someone else's dialogue.
You should be congratulating me for the strength to carry on.
This talent show is crazy.
The cartoon characters are also, like, barely in the show. In episode 2, they have, no joke, less than a minute of combined screen time. And they only ever exist to act as filler nonsense, breaking up the pacing of the plot I don't care about to do something goofy. Yeah, it was a nice attempt, I guess, but I don't know if something like this could really work. I'd love to be proven wrong, though. Sorry, Jimmy, about your show and your concussion. Level Up! Oh god, you already know this is gonna be some cringy, random XD LOL epic gamer TV show.
I want to tell you a story. There once was a boy who dreamt of eating corn dogs 3 meals a day.
Yep, So in this epic TV show, we follow a group of 4 gamer friends that accidentally somehow opened up a portal from their video game world into the real world, and it's up to them to stop the monsters and evil that come through. Already a pretty generic concept that could work with the right execution, but this show came out in 2012, which was peak epic randomness humor. You ever see that YouTube comment I left in like 2011 where I unironically said epicness on crack? Yeah, it's that turned into a TV show.
Corndog land to go-go? Living the dream!
Seriously, these characters are so obnoxious. It's making me miss the Dude What Would Happen crew. Whenever a battle ensues with a video game monster, the teenagers just have cheap Walmart toys and they throw some low-budget CGI nonsense at it. Like boom, yeah, you see that right there? That's every battle in this show. I also wouldn't mind the lack of monsters and fighting if the cast were likable in any way, but they're all so obnoxious and annoying in their own special way. I guess not Selena Gomez over here isn't too bad, but that's just a fourth of the cast, when everyone else is doing... Yeah, how this show had 35 episodes is beyond me. Bro, this is the stupidest thing ever. Hole in the wall. There's a wall with a hole, and contestants need to shape their body to match the hole when it comes by so they don't get knocked in the water. I mean, it's a fine and simple enough game, but usually when it's in a gauntlet of other games, you know what I mean? To make an entire show based off of this one simple game is not interesting. The reactions aren't funny, people can kind of get hurt, but it's nothing worth turning into. I don't know what else to say, it's just a boring game show. Unnatural History is a Cartoon Network action drama show. It's about some overachieving teenager who can do martial arts and solve mysteries. He's using his history knowledge to solve crimes and fight the bad guys. It is so generic and boring. Like seriously, who wanted this? I've honestly never seen a good action TV show. Mainly with the limited budget, you can't do anything actually impressive. It's once again just a bunch of boring nothing. It is kinda cool that this is the only show on Cartoon Network that was rated PG, even having a guy shoot a gun in the trailer. I just wish I had more to say. But there's nothing else to comment on. I can't even show you clips that are interesting because the whole show is...
I knew your uncle was out of town, so I called him and offered to look in on you guys. Look in.
I remember Nickelodeon also had another similar garbage show called House of Anubis. It was a cringy, terrible drama that if you liked it, you're just wrong, and you should have your opinion rights taken away. Same with Unnatural History. If you like this, then any further opinion you have on anything should immediately have you thrown in jail. Oh Jesus, and we're not done yet. Tower Prep is another garbage live-action show where these teenagers have powers and need to solve the mysteries that lie in their big school.
So I'm supposed to watch and push around other kids and do nothing?
No. You tell a teacher, you tell us.
I mean, what else can I say? The same problems exist here. It's boring, nothing happens, the acting sucks, the dialogue sucks, the cinematography sucks, your show is objectively bad and boring. And what's even worse is that these episodes take up an hour time slot. Excluding commercials, a single episode is 45 minutes. Could you imagine being a Cartoon Network viewer in 2010? Life sucked. I don't get it. I'll go to YouTube comments on these episodes and people are like, OMG, this was my favorite. I love Tower Prep. Like, are we watching the same show? Yeah, man, a show about superheroes. Let's see what's in store.
I can't stand kids who can't get with the program.
Yeah, aren't they the worst?
Embarrassing, terrible, stupid. Moving on. Incredible Crew. Was it incredible?
Introducing hot dog cereal.
Hot dog cereal?
It was not for me, let me just say that. Incredible Crew is a sketch comedy show similar to Saturday Night Live and The Amanda Show. It was created by Nick Cannon. You know, if anyone cares. I don't even really know what Nick Cannon does, but good for him for doing it. The show stars 6 teenagers, one of which being Jeremy Shada, who's the voice of Finn from Adventure Time.
Before I begin my speech, I would just like to point out that my opponent, Kyle Hoffman, is a werewolf.
These segments feel less like SNL and more like 2010 YouTube videos. Yeah, a lot of the bits are very random XD, very much Smosh is my hero sort of stuff.
But after I put it on my armpits, I put it in my mouth. Oh.
I was personally never into Smosh or these high production silly YouTube videos. Incredible Crew came out in 2013. I was long disinterested in that style of YouTube. Game Grumps just came out, baby. I was more interested in that.
We don't have fun, we're grumpy.
The show ranges anywhere from kinda funny, I guess, to absolutely disgusting.
What bowl of hot dog cereal would be complete without morning mustard?
To absolutely annoying.
I just smiled at her and I started to sing. I ain't scared, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, nothing's worse than intentionally bad rapping. Like, it's not any more charming that you're self-aware that your song is bad. You're still doing something annoying.
Everybody in the rap industry that should all die.
Hey, look at that, even the Game Grumps weren't immune to it. The main issue with this show is that the writers think random equals funny. Some of these kids do have comedic timing. Shamik Moore especially has shown that he has comedic timing, and if he had a better script, he could actually say something funny. All of these kids actually went on to have fairly successful careers and star in well-renowned shows like American Horror Story. Shamik Moore specifically being Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse movies, so that's cool. As for Incredible Crew, the epic randomness wasn't doing it for people, mainly because, again, YouTube was kind of the new way to see entertainment like this, and done on a much better scale.
Oh shit!
The show had 1 season with a total of 13 episodes, where apparently the writers said they created and filmed over 330 skits and were carefully selected to fit each episode.
Ow!
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of thought really went into this. Anyway, yeah. With that wraps up the worst era of Cartoon Network. I mean, it was definitely interesting looking back years later at the weird programming decisions made, but it's one thing looking back at these shows with the Cartoon Network we have today. It was completely different though, actually living through it. My 9th grade summer vacation sucked if I wanted to watch TV. I actually think it was around this time I started to explore YouTube more to find something to watch. And well, the rest is history. But I'm curious to know what you think about this live-action era of Cartoon Network. Did you like it? Probably not. Did you hate it? Hopefully. Nowadays, Cartoon Network has distanced themselves as far as possible from anything live-action and have been focusing on cartoons. Yeah, leave the live-action shows to the professionals like Nickelodeon and their hits like Aaron and Aaron. Oh god, never mind.